Hello, everyone. I am Matt Williamson. How's it going? It's going great for me. The weather is beautiful. It's actually staying late here. It's nice and warm. All that good stuff. A little different today. I am recording this around 2 p.m. on Thursday as opposed to waiting as late as I possibly can. And the reasoning, to pull back the curtain, is I record the drive in studio, in DV studios, from 4 to 6 every day. And then I'm going straight to Craig Wolfley's viewing and, services. And frankly, I expect it to be very, very crowded because Wolf was awesome. And I expect to be there quite a while. So I don't know that I would have time tonight to get something for you guys for tomorrow, which is Friday in your world when you're listening to this. However, if by chance Aaron Rodgers becomes a Steeler, or Wilson, who apparently is in Cleveland as we speak and is apparently scheduled to go to New York to meet with the Giants, let's start there. I assume one of two things happened with the Wilson situation. Either the Steelers told him, Russ, thanks, but we're not interested. And he decided, and so he says, okay, I'm going to go test other avenues. Or Russ told them, I'm sick of waiting, man. This stuff's heating up. I got to go and see what else is out there and or put pressure on the Steelers to, or get off the pot, with him. So either way, he needs to look out for himself as any of us would. Giants are kind of in a bind. I mean, if they don't get Rodgers, they've been linked to him heavily. I don't think that the Titans are going to move off of number one. I think the Titans are going to stick and take Cam Ward. So I could definitely see Wilson ending up there. I'm not exactly sure how the Browns could afford Russell Wilson. I mean, he's going to make at least 20, maybe 35, whatever it is. It's not going to be the league minimum deal that the Steelers got him on. And many of you and myself find it funny. They just traded for Kenny Pickett. Would he be afraid? Would he demand a trade and not compete with Russell Wilson as he did 1 year ago here? Of course not, but that would make me chuckle and many of you as well. So there's that. There's a lot of balls in the air. But in the meantime, I love that the Steelers signed Mason Rudolph to a 2-year, $8 million contract. Just give me a bird in the hand. He played well here last. I'm not saying he's Bradshaw or Ben. I'm just saying it's something that's a cheap backup. It's a quality backup. He will run the offense. He's smart. He's hardworking. He's mobile enough for a backup or a placeholder. And we'll talk about some other things that are crossing my mind here as well. Meanwhile, they're waiting for Rodgers, and Rodgers and Rudolph would be fine. The Rodgers thing, those got to be getting old. Jerry Dulac, who really knows the stuff, has basically said it's not a financial hurdle between the Steelers and Rodgers. He's just taking his time in the high maintenance way that he does. And whenever he makes news, he wants it to be the only news that's happening that day in the whole league. So everybody pays attention to him. Look at me. And that gets old. And how long are the Steelers going to wait around for that stuff? So we will get to some other things here quarterback wise, but it's all, I love the Rudolph pickup. Again, it's not the answer, but it's something. And it just gives you a jumping off point, a quality backup, a guy I've seen win games here. And we'll get to more of that in a minute. But BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for betting on all the madness. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds and everything from college basketball to a $200,000 bracket contest, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every Cinderella story to every hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. So I don't know that a lot's changed from the last time we talked. I assume it's still Rodgers or Wilson, preference to Rodgers. But the more it lingers, the more it makes you wonder, and maybe the less patient you get with Rodgers nonsense. And there's a couple things I just want to throw out. Would it be so terrible to have Rudolph here, wait until Atlanta cuts Kirk Cousins, which they don't really have to do soon, but I still think it will happen. You could trade for him, but you could trade for him, but the money's too much. You could trade for him and say, we'll send you a 7th round pick because we know you're going to cut him, but you got to pick up a big chunk of his contract. So that could happen. I know that doesn't sound appealing. But to be fair to Cousins, and this is true for Rodgers too, they both started last year at an advanced age, coming off an awful Achilles tear. And they looked it. But then Cousins got a lot better, and then he claims, and Atlanta didn't seem to exactly back him up, but I'm not sure why he would lie, that there was a point in like week 11 or 12 where he kind of messed up his shoulder pretty bad. And from that point on, he was really terrible, and they benched him for Penix. But if he's 100% and those are the reasons, that his bad play, now he's older and will he ever be the same? I don't know. But my point with Cousins is when he gets released, or if he gets released, if and when, you get him for the exact same contract you got Russell Wilson last year, which is basically league minimum because Atlanta's paying his entire salary if he's released. If you trade for him, it'd probably be you pick up half it, we pick up half it, something like that. I'm just throwing it out there. And if he's terrible, you just roll with Rudolph. Another name that I'm sure a lot of you thought was off the market is Derek Carr. Now, the Saints are so crazy with their salary cap, and they're so crazy that they think they're a contender, that I think they're just going to roll it back with Carr. But they put all of his money this year into a signing bonus just so they could get under the cap for Wednesday at 4 p.m. But next year, he's like an $85 million cap hit to them. So he's not going to be a Saint a year from now. If they're smart, they would trade him now, realize they're terrible, maybe draft Shedeur Sanders or wait a year. After June 1st, though, you have to trade him after June 1st. Now, there could be a deal in place, and you have Rudolph in the meantime, and you make this deal for Carr after June 1st. And from what I understand, too, because they gave him the huge signing bonus, his contract this year is basically nothing to the new team. Could be worse. I know none of these are Bradshaw or Ben, guys. I'm just saying this is where we're at. The other thing is, what if you took Shedeur Sanders at 21 or traded up? I don't like it. I think he's an overrated prospect. I think he could drop to the Saints, middle of the first round. I'm not interested in trading up for anybody, especially without a 2nd round pick. But you'd have to at least have the conversation of, if he gets to 21, do you pull the trigger? I still lean towards no, folks. But you guys know I love Tyler Shuck, and I'm sort of interested in Jackson Dart. But I think those guys are early to mid 2nd round type players. Could you package picks up, take a D lineman in round 1, or trade down in round 1. Take one of those guys in early round 2. Go with him and Rudolph and have a very cheap quarterback room. I don't hate it at this point. I don't hate it. Now, however, if you're going to take one of these financially cheap options, Rudolph and Cousins on the Wilson deal, Rudolph and Carr basically making nothing this year, I don't know where you spend it at this point. It's a little late, but I would like to see another 1 or 2 pretty big ticket items at maybe another wide receiver, certainly D-line help, as well as drafting it, and not tanking, but taking a totally different approach to winning every game this year 13-9. And as I've said a million times, leading the league in sacks. Here's my 2 huge goals. There should be their 2 huge goals, in my opinion, aside from finding the next Ben or etc. But for this year on the field, I think you have to strive to lead the league in sacks and beat the crap out of every quarterback you play. Blitz, I want TJ not getting doubled as much. I want waves of defensive linemen coming at you. I want aggression. I want linebackers coming up the middle, 6-man pressures, leaving corners on islands, beating the crap out of Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. And yeah, you'll let up big plays, but it's going to be a long day. Winning games 13-9. And the other thing is we know they're going to run the football. You can't be a bottom 5 yards per carry team at 4.0. Let's get to 4.3, 4.4, 4.5 yards per carry. If you can do those 2 things, I'm not saying you're going to beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. But boy, you'd have a foundation and you'd be really hard to play against. We're going to beat the crap out of quarterbacks. Just keep adding to our defense because the money we were going to spend on Rodgers or Wilson is now going to player X, and I haven't done that homework yet. Where would you spend that money? And I'm not going to do that homework because when I hit stop on record here, they might sign Rodgers and this could be all out the door. But the bottom line is I love the Rudolph signing for where they're at now. There is other assets. There's other quarterbacks to explore. Rudolph in a draft pick. Again, super cheap quarterback room. Go sign Cooper Kupp and the best defensive tackle on the market, or talk to the team that still has a big contract player that you can pry away for a 7th round pick because they need the cap space. That type of thing. And again, it's a little late for that. I mean, a lot of those ships have sailed. But that's where I'm at as we stand. 2 p.m. Thursday. The bottom line of this podcast is I love the Rudolph signing for where they're at. It at least gives them some options. I can line up with him behind center and play snaps with him and not be a joke, and not have Cam Hayward look me in the face like, are you serious? I mean, that's what we're going to do. And there are other quarterback options, and I like Tyler Shuck a lot. And what if Jackson Dart relaxed for a year? Or, you know what I mean? And again, cheap quarterback room can definitely provide a lot of possibilities, even this late in the process. I mean, remember, the Joe Haydens of the world got cut super late and you just scoop in and grab them. There's still a lot of that stuff to happen between now and training camp, folks, let alone now and opening day. And you can also roll over all your cap money, which I don't want to see happen this year because they have so much for next year. And you can extend TJ and all that kind of stuff too. But that's my take. Thanks, everyone. And going to go see Wolf tonight for the last time. And I'm sure there'll be a bunch of Steeler people there as well. And I'm sure it'll be a full house. So, adios.